All right, so this is reported by BusinessInsider.com, and headline reads this. Japan is developing wooden satellites to send into orbit by 2023 to cut down on space junk. All right, so I'm going to link the source like we always do. And you can follow along with the article if you prefer, or check it out later. But I encourage you to check it out. I always include the sources because I want you to realize I'm not making this shit up. My commentary and my thoughts are clearly my own, but the rest of the stuff that comes from these sources are they're legitimate sources apparently. So I think that's what makes it even more funny. Okay, so anyway, BusinessInsider.com. Japan is developing wooden satellites to send into orbit by 2023. To cut down on space junk. All right, let's see. Kyoto University is teaming up with a Japanese forestry company, Sumitomo Forestry, to develop a wooden satellite to send into orbit. The idea is that a device made of wood could safely burn up on re-entry and reduce the amount of space junk. Now, space junk is increasingly a concern among experts who say it poses an environmental hazard. Now, that's quite clever, don't you think? So let's see. Takai Doi, a Kyoto University professor and Japanese astronaut, told the BBC that the advantage of a wooden satellite is that if it were to fall out of orbit and burn up on re-entry, it wouldn't release as many harmful particles as metal satellites. Quote, "We are very concerned that the fact that all the satellites which re-enter the Earth's atmosphere burn and create tiny alumina particles, which will float in the upper atmosphere for many years," Doi said. And he added, it will affect the environment of the Earth. And if anybody's actually ever seen a satellite coming back down, we saw one not too long ago, maybe a year ago. Actually, maybe it's been 2 years. Geez, time flies. But we saw one out here in Las Vegas, Mrs. Strange and I. We were headed down to Henderson, and there was just this bizarre... it appeared like a comet in the sky. It was really weird, but it had this like a green tail. Like it was like literally like UFO, right? If you caught it at the right angle at the right time of day, I can imagine how people would call it a UFO. But it actually had that green kind of tail because it was so supposedly I looked it up after the fact, and it ended up being a like a Russian satellite, they said, or a Russian something that was actually kind of coming back into the atmosphere, and the green that was burning off of it was chemicals. It was like chemical and metal burn. So I mean, that's stuff, again, particles that go up into the air, and wherever this thing lands and ends up, it stays, right? So pretty nasty stuff. So wooden satellites, I guess, would curb that. So here we go. Kyoto University and Sumitomo Forestry plan to experiment with how well different types of wood withstand extreme conditions on Earth, aiming to develop a wood that could take wild fluctuations in temperature and sunlight. Space junk and debris are growing concerns among experts, and quote, "Space debris is increasingly of concern, and the collision of two massive space debris objects ranging from 1 to 10 metric tons pose the greatest environmental risk," Daniel Oltreg said, the director of the Center for Space Standards and Innovation, and he told Business Insider this last month. Though estimates vary, Oltreg said CSSI believes there are about 760,000 objects larger than a centimeter in orbit. 760,000, guys. That's a lot. That's a lot of the space junk up there. So anyway, I thought it was pretty clever. First I read this and was like, really? Wood satellites? Are we kidding? Are we really doing this? But then you read why, and it doesn't seem so far-fetched, does it? As long as it can survive space and the rest of what they need it for, and attach the necessary electronics, it makes sense. It makes good sense to me. At least most of the well, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do about the other 760,000 that are already out there, but I guess starting fresh with a better idea is a better idea.